Norma Jean Baker,
otherwise known as Marilyn Monroe, was best remembered for being perhaps Hollywood's greatest and most influential star from the 20th century. Her young, innocent, and often satirical presence made her a star, and caught the attention of not only America, but the entire world. Marilyn's greatest works, from Howard Hawks' Gentlemen Prefer Blondes to Billy Wilder's Some Like It Hot, mostly typecasted her as being known as Hollywood's dumb blonde, a title she had trouble with accepting, wanting to prove that she was more than a pretty face on an hourglass body. Growing up, Norma Jean Baker struggled throughout childhood, being subjected to sexual abuse at a young age. Throughout her childhood, Norma Jean often found escapism at the movies, where she often dreamt of becoming a star, like Jean Harlow and Claudette Colbert. At age 16, she married Jim Doherty to escape her living situation. She was discovered by a photographer while working at a radio play munitions plant during the Second World War. Soon after, she divorced Jim Doherty in order to pursue a career in modeling and acting. Norma Jean was first contracted under 20th Century Fox, where she was given the name Marilyn by the studio, and she picked Monroe after her mother's maiden name. After her contract ran out and was not renewed, she took up a job posing for nude photos because she needed the money. Later in her career, when she was contracted again by 20th Century Fox and the photos resurfaced, she took ownership of the photos and did not shy away from them, thus boosting the public's admiration for her honesty. Marilyn's career arguably reached its peak in Billy Wilder's The 7-Year Itch. The most famous scene in the film, and perhaps of her entire career, involved her standing under a subway grate as her white dress flips up while she stands, smiling. However, the scene got her into major trouble with her second husband, Joe DiMaggio, who reportedly abused her after the fact. Marilyn's life was weighed down with conflicts, both with other people and with her own self, and her relationship to Joe DiMaggio was no different. Soon after that, Marilyn divorced DiMaggio and married Arthur Miller. Reports claim she married Arthur Miller in an effort to have the general public take her more seriously, and not see her both on and off camera as nothing but a dumb blonde. Like with Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn had conflicts with Arthur Miller, which reached its peak during her final film, The Misfits, in which Arthur Miller scripted and Marilyn Monroe starred. Soon after, the two divorced. Warning: graphic content on the upcoming slides. Marilyn Monroe was found dead at age 36 in August of 1962, with a set of over 14 bottles of medicine and tablets found next to her on a nightstand. Her physician, Dr. Hyman Engelberg, had apparently prescribed sleeping pills for her for 3 days, in which a bottle would contain 40 to 50 pills total. A coroner, Dr. Theodore J. Curfey, located in Los Angeles, claimed Monroe's death was not natural, claiming it was related to drug abuse. He said a toxicology study within a 48-hour period would contain more results, and refused to list it as a suicide before then. Marilyn's housekeeper, Eunice Murray, claimed Marilyn had come home at 8 p.m. that night. Murray had apparently found a light under Marilyn's door at around 3:25 a.m., where she called Marilyn's name and tried to open the door, which was locked. Later on, she noticed something described as peculiar, which she found out was Marilyn's arm outstretched across the bed, where a hand hung limp on the telephone. Marilyn's analyst, Dr. Ralph R. Greenson, was called, and had broken a pane on one of her French windows to get inside the house. At 4:20 a.m., nearly an hour later, Inspector Edward Walker of the LA Police was called, claiming, so far as the doctors were concerned, there was no evidence of crime, and the first doctor already knew she was dead. He said, "I have no criticism to make of them." The graphic content is finished. You are welcome to keep watching. On a television interview with Mike Wallace, Norman Mailer, who wrote a biography titled Marilyn, a Biography, in 1973, made a bold claim. Marilyn's death was not due to suicide, but was, in fact, murder. The Kennedy family is one of the most famous and influential names imprinted into the legacy of the United States history. Marilyn Monroe famously took time off of the unfinished film George Cukor's Something's Gotta Give to sing Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy on his birthday, thus angering the studio. However, rumors circulate that a relationship between both Marilyn and Kennedy had developed prior to Marilyn singing for him, in one of Kennedy's many affairs against his wife, Jackie Kennedy. Reportedly, the story continues that Kennedy was embarrassed to have Marilyn desiring him, and thus rejected her, and she began a relationship with Robert Kennedy, the former United States Attorney General and the brother to JFK. The biography claims that if Marilyn had feelings for Robert Kennedy that were not returned, it became an embarrassment to the Kennedy household. Had Marilyn's death be seen as suicide, then the Kennedy family would not have to face any problems regarding evidence being used against them. However, during that same interview, it is worthy to note that Eunice Murray claimed it is unlikely, nearly impossible, Marilyn was murdered, claiming no one had met with Marilyn after she returned home that night at 8 p.m. Furthermore, she claimed the research done by Norman Mailer was not chronologically conclusive. and in many ways, it was unfinished. However, there is reasonable evidence to doubt what has previously been stated. A biography titled Bombshell, The Night Bobby Kennedy Killed Marilyn Monroe was written by Mike Rothmiller and details evidence gathered against the Kennedy family and claims Marilyn was killed. Mike Rothmiller, an ex-detective of the CIA, found reasonable evidence one night, searching through files under the Kennedy name. Top-secret information, wiretap transits, and more were found and documented by Rothmiller, and even a photograph in which Marilyn and JFK seen embracing were found. It was through a visit to Hugh Hefner's Playboy mansion that he was able to come into contact with Peter Lawford, in which Rothmiller slipped his business card with the words, "Call me," into Lawford's pockets. Peter Lawford maintained close connections with both Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedy family, marrying JFK's sister Patricia Kennedy. It was through Lawford that Marilyn was called and told to never contact the president again, although she remained close with Robert Kennedy. According to information by Lawford, gathered by Rothmiller, a heated argument took place one night at a lunch with several guests between both Marilyn and Robert Kennedy. Marilyn had apparently threatened to expose her affairs with both John and Bobby Kennedy, and Kennedy demanded access to Marilyn's personal diary, which seemingly contained information related to her affairs. It apparently became so heated that Marilyn grabbed a kitchen knife against Kennedy, in which Lawford intervened. According to Rothmiller, LAPD Chief Daryl Gates claimed that August 4th, the day Marilyn Monroe died, Bobby Kennedy was in town, and Lawford was with him that day. As such, Lawford drove Bobby Kennedy to Marilyn's house that day. After a heated argument, Kennedy had gone searching through Marilyn's house for her diary. He handed her a drink, which he claimed tasted weird, and Kennedy claimed there was nothing in it. Lawford encouraged Marilyn to drink it without knowing it was poisoned, and within minutes, she became unconscious. Two men had taken Lawford to the airport while Kennedy remained in the house, when apparently investigators arrived, undressing Marilyn and moved her to her bed. Marilyn Monroe's death remains, in many ways, one of the most shocking events of the entire 20th century. Living just to the age of 36 years old, Marilyn Monroe had seemingly become Hollywood's most iconic actress and was an inspiration to many across the world. From her work in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes to Some Like It Hot, Marilyn remained potentially the greatest actress of all during her lifetime. Norma Jean Baker, the girl who dreamt to make it big, became larger than life. However, her title as Hollywood's dumb blonde typecasted her in a way she sought to break out of, wanting to prove herself as more than that. Her personal life was weighed down with tragedy, due to sexual abuse at a young age and a total of 3 divorces throughout her lifetime. Joe DiMaggio had apparently abused her, and Arthur Miller often argued with her as well. Her affairs with both John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy did not make things easier on her part. Although her death was officially ruled as a suicide by experts, inside sources claim that Bobby Kennedy indeed had a hand in the murder, if not directly killing Marilyn Monroe himself. Whether or not Marilyn was truly murdered by the Kennedy family might unfortunately be destined to remain a mystery. However, it's important to remember not the tragedy in Marilyn's life, but the positivity. The truth remains she broke new ground for people all across the world, campaigning for people's rights and protesting against injustices before they were even considered unjustified by society. The unfortunate truth is that Marilyn Monroe is destined to be defined by her death and her roles in films, but in reality, she was so much more. Although larger than life on screen, she always remained devoted to being a ray of positive light to many who aspire to continue to be inspired by her.
I've heard of affairs that are strictly platonic, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. And I think affairs that you must keep Masonic are better bets. If little pets get big baguettes, time rolls on, and youth is gone, and you can't straighten up when you bend. But stiff back or stiff knees, you stand straight as teeth.